Perfect. So, George, can we
I'm
start?
sure. Start.
Yeah, George will hint you.
Okay, just wait.
We'll
Hi.
switch on the live streaming service.
Yeah, Mange, you can start.
Shall I start? Yeah. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Rajiv Kumar Mishra from University of South Africa to our VCAN 2020 to deliver his work on smart composite materials for environmental sustainability. Professor Ajay Kumar Mishra is currently working as professor at Nanotechnology and Water Sustainability Unit, College of Science, Engineering and Technology, University of South Africa. Mishra recently as a fellow member and chartered scientist by Royal Society of Chemistry UK. Professor Mr. Water Research and Bioinorganic Chemistry. Its research contribution includes more than 290 publications in international journals and achievements of 33. For his outstanding research profile, he was awarded a number of awards, including in NASA's Excellence Research Award. Professor Mishra also served as associate editor as well as a member of the editorial board of many international journals. He has edited several books by the renowned publishers. Dr. Ajay Kumar Mishra, can you start now?
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity, especially to Professor Nirmala. When we have connected actually for a long time, and now actually we are together just to share the ideas actually how we can see what the work we are trying to do. I may need some help in terms of like how to go. I am in the team
Dr.
actually.
Ajay, maybe you can switch on your camera so that the audience can look at you
Yeah,
and listen to you talk.
I'm
And
just going to do it, but I have to see where it gone. Okay,
yeah,
now the
yeah, should be at yeah, perfect, got it.
okay,
And then
now
share
how
screen. Yeah, at the bottom you can see a green share screen.
just a moment.
Yeah.
It's start Zoom. So oh no, it's somewhere it's gone actually.
You
You
can move your cursor, cursor beneath the slide. You can see participants Q&A share screen. The footer
yeah,
of your the desktop footer.
yeah, it is on the desktop. Let me just close it
Yeah.
down again.
Yes.
Um, Now I have opened. This technology is making us more. I just need to see where is the Zoom so that I can easily go there. Uh, can I rejoin this one because I think look like some problem happened.
Okay.
Okay, just a moment. Let me
Yeah.
rejoin. Um, Everybody can hear?
Yes.
Let me,
Yes, Ajay. Yeah.
let me share the screen.
So the moment you bring your cursor down, you can see all the icons visible.
Yeah, I can see share. Now, can you see my screen?
Yes. It's coming. It's coming. We are here to see.
Okay,
Yeah, perfect. So you can put
okay.
it in the
Now
presentation mode.
I'm just doing it. They're equally slow.
No issues.
Okay, now is it in the presentation mode?
Yes, perfect. Yeah.
Okay, now let me start. And if anywhere is the problem, let us, welcome the idea and then I'll clarify. And end of the day as well, we are going to have a discussion after the talk if you're more interested in certain queries. All right. So let me just thank again to the organizer, especially from Grace, for giving me opportunity to showcase my work, what we are doing. And this is just a small uh, work what I am trying to put it together, which is entitled like a smart composite material for environmental sustainability. But the idea comes to all of us if you try to see that where this concept of smartness comes. So I am quite familiar that most of you is already aware about this smart material. So if I try to give you a broader picture, like how you can define this the material, how it can be called as a smart material actually, then you can think about yourself. And if you just think yourself, like in the morning you wake up, how and you go and see yourself in the mirror, how do you look like? uh, so suddenly most of the time you are going to be struggle to find like who is, because there is a lot of things you have done for your body, and now you are going to see actually how. So then what happens, like you go take bath, you take some apply some cream on the face, and decorate your hairs and everywhere. And so what we are trying to do in that fashion, like we are trying to control some property. What is that? In fact, it is the physical parameters what we are trying to do. We are not doing any chemical reaction right there, but what we are trying to do, like we are trying to make it like these physical parameters, if we change, how does it work? And suddenly, like once you are done with that, um, and you come out from your house, and your friends is giving you good compliments, like, oh, you're looking so smart, isn't it? So in that way, what we are trying to do, like we are trying to change the physical parameter. In the scientific terminology, we are trying to say like these physical parameters can be your external stimuli, which is like a temperature, moisture, pH. So once we trying to change, what happens is like the properties of the material dramatically changes. And that's how we are trying to discuss actually like how nanotechnology really played a very important role right there. And in this slide, if you try to see uh, there is a varieties of applications is being done, whether we are going to the defense sector, electronic material, now clothing, and if you go to the drugs. So everywhere this smart material has taken a brilliant role. But that also brings one of the things what we need to be also be careful, like how you can say like we are responsible. So because certain nanomaterials is also known to be very toxic in nature, which can come to the our material, and it can cause certain toxicity, which is not good. So that's what I am trying to uh, showcase your my thoughts, like how you can be a responsible nanotechnology. And I'm sure actually like most of you know about this movie called Spider-Man, and where if you try to remember that Uncle Ben, what he says to Mr. Peter Parker, like great power brings the great responsibility. And obviously, if you try to see the Spider-Man wave, which is just nanoscale fiber. So many of you, like if you have not thought about that, you can. But the more idea is like in that movie, what we enjoyed, we also enjoyed the nanotechnology in the hidden ways. And then also like the message comes to us actually how we can be highly responsible in terms of making the nanomaterial. But in terms of like if we have to get some smart structure, how we can do actually, and those things can go with the sensor controls and actuator. And if you try to control the data transmission and data instruction, that's how we can give rise to the smart structure. So I think and those all things actually like going in terms of like how we are changing the physical parameters, and that's how actually we are getting some smart materials. But if we have to look around what is the properties of a smart material, then we need to also look actually like where it is leading to us in terms of sensing material and devices, acquisition material and devices, control devices techniques, self-detection, self-corrosive, and self-control, self-healing. I think if we go nowadays in the shopping mall or the market, and then we can try to see like this material is already there, and which is going to our daily to daily life. And if we try to go and see the applications, whether it is going towards the ortho aircrafts or orthopedic surgery, now dental brushes, like I don't know, many of you have seen it. You like there is some robot who is taking care of your teeth, uh, and then reducing vibration. And I can also say you like few years, it's just not very long, but my mother has the bladder cancer, where we also prefer to go robotics, the robotic surgery, because it really reduces a lot of blood loss. And I think variety wise it goes like more helpful way in that sense. It will like mm, uh, it protects you. So those things, if you try to see in variety of application, whether the uh, it is going towards the defense sector or the medical sector, or the fabrics. Now I think there is some nice fabrics is available using this you know um, smart material. Okay. So we have seen, actually, if you try to see, like we have seen a lot of application in terms of how it is changing in terms of the structural application, electronic application, thermal application, electrochemical, environmental, biomedical. But today I have decided to talk, something called environmental application. I hope everybody is fine until now. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, I will keep on checking. Like, if you have any problem, you can just keep on buzzing me. All right.
If there is any problem, I will remind you. No problem.
Okay, no, that's fine. Okay, so that's how we can see like the varieties of application, whether it is structural, electronic, thermal, electrochemical, environmental, or biomedical. But what I am trying to focus today is like some environmental application. So for that, actually, we need to have certain functionalized nanocomposites and how we can make it. Just to make the composite material, what we need actually like um, especially two things, whether it is a reinforced material or and then what is going to be the matrix of the material actually. So with that one, we need to also see like what can be filler, what can be the matrix. And then if you try to see some nanoparticle, nano rods in terms of the crystals or the polymer, and those polymers can go a lot of ways, whether it is a homopolymer, Bock copolymer, or the copolymers, are the small molecules, whether it is amphiwhales or mesogens. So, and when you do the surface modification, um, and then what happens actually, like it makes some composite material, and finally, when you have to do the surface modification, that's how you go get the functionalized nanocomposite. And if we have to learn in the scientific why, how it is going to go, like it's a multi-phase solid material in which the phase is 1, 2, 3 dimensional or less than 100. So if we see this terminology together with and how we have to get the functionalized nanocomposite, I think that's how one has to also think actually like how we can make this nanocomposite material as a smart composite, which can be used in the variety of ways if we try to see that way. I have also in the nanocomposite a book called Nanocomposite for Wastewater Remediation, where I have focused on all three kind of nanocomposite, which is mixed oxide, metal matrix, and the polymer composite. So you can also read through that and then try to see. But end of the day, I was not focused on many of other application rather than completely focus on like how it is helping for the environmental sustainability or the environmental remediation. All right. So why we choose this material? If we try to see like what I was just speaking around a little bit on like how you can make the functional nanocomposite, because we have the problem of water. And if you see this slide where it can be easily visible, like it's 1.7 billion people have gained access to the safe drinking water, but it's around 663 million people are still without water. So, and I can tell you the story. We are a little bit rich in South Africa, where we can drink the municipal water actually, which is with the quality maintained as well. And when I came here, like let's say 15 years back, and with the hotel, I did ask like, where is my bottled water? And they were just smiling and saying like, don't you get the tap water? So uh, because I had the experience coming from my native country, like where we are more used with the bottled water. But again, there's a lot of discussion is going around like how this plastic bottles where we are drinking the water or other stuff, how it can be, useful and how it can be more safer. So those ways we need to also be very careful and what kind of plastic we can use it. And to just to be frank, actually, like I had a BBC interview, I think late last year, beginning of the last year, where we have focused on like how this plastic can change the world. So you can also try to see actually, and we are trying to give some solutions on that actually, like how this plastic can also play a role in the environmental sustainability. So this is just giving you a picture. And if we try to see the overall scenario of the water, and we know it's around 97.1% water is not accessible, and which is in the form of oceans. And then whatever we have, like it's around 2 point more percentage. And what is happening to that one, like how you can go more about it, how you can more utilize. There is some lakes, there is some, um, you know, some rivers, so there is also not accessible. Then once those accessible water comes, and that's how the hill here, the picture comes with this slide, like number of people without clean water. And Africa is also a bigger issue where we are more focused actually, like how we can try to propose certain idea actually, like how we can try to make it. And I don't know whether you have heard some stories around 2 years along along the line that Cape Town was ground zero, like there was no water. Obviously, we need to be very, 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 very careful in terms of like how we can sustain or how we can access a good quality of water, which can be, um, be useful for ourselves in daily to daily life. So for that one, if we try to bring it, like what kind of solution is available, and what we are trying to put certain solution which can be bringing ourselves a good quality of water. So if you try to see, there is some biological methods, some filter, membranes, adsorbent, photocatalyst, and then if we try to see the chemical methods, which is like acid base, neutralization, flocculation, coagulation. So there is a lot of ways, and there is a water treatment processes is available where most of the scientists, including our research group, is highly responsible. But when it comes to like which one is effective, what we should choose. And I have background from India, so I can easily tell you, like, if you go to most of the houses, what we are going to see actually, like, there is a water filter which is RO. I think most of you know about it, um, which is like a reverse osmosis, and that's how we are all using for the purification of water. But if we have to understand actually, like, how um, that one is also effective or something, I don't know whether you have applied your mind just to check actually how much water you are wasting in terms of filtering the water. It's around 80 to 85% of water we are wasting from that processes. Electricity consumption is also and disadvantage is coming right there. So there is a better idea is coming, like if we can have like activated carbon plus filtrate fiber membrane, so that can be like a recommendable one. And that's how we are also trying to propose certain idea actually how it can go. So this is just a giving you a picture where you can try to compare whether activated carbon or the activated carbon plus membrane or the filtrate fiber membrane is going to be useful. We are also trying to do more on your on the composite side, whether we can try to do the reusability, recyclability, and those things is quite important. I hope we are fine until now.
It's fine.
All right. So if we have to try to see the typical way like how water filter works, this is just a layman understanding where we used to put the contaminated water and it goes towards the rocks, sand, small rocks, sand, charcoal, cloth, and that's how we used to get the clean water. If we try to see in the olden days, are little bit more modification, why actually that's how we used to filter the water. But what happens now actually, like most of the scientists, when they come together, what we are trying to do actually, like if we see the sand and charcoal, what we are trying to do, like we are trying to remove the charcoal and we are putting some nanomaterials right there. And those nanomaterials, whether it is a full range carbon nanotube, which can be single walled, multi-walled, um, you know, uh, then the nano adsorbent, graphenes, carbon dots. So that's how we are trying to, replace the charcoal, and we are trying to propose a better filter system or sustainable, filter system, which can really give us a clean water. But just to give you a very, very, not everybody is expert on that one in this area. So I just made a very, very layman understanding actually, like how, especially with the polymer we are trying to make it like hydrophilic polymer. It can be hypo that one, because we are looking more on the in the solution of like a maximum adsorption can happen. So the hydrophilic polymer is looking like that, and the fillers, it can be in the form of nanoparticles, nanorods, nanotubes, what we have just now discussed, and that's how we can make the composite or nanocomposite. Once we apply, you can try to see, the heavy metals, it adsorbs on the surface, which is like a in the form of physical adsorption. There can be also link what we have also established and published few articles right there. There can be a chemi adsorption, but that one removal is quite a different process how we have to go about it. For this one, if there is a Fiji adsorption, what we are trying to do, we can wash it, we can use it several times, and still the strength of the material look like the same. So variety of like material, we try to replace it, and we try to make it in that treatment process how we can do the adsorption capacity with the Langmuir adsorption isotherm or the friendly isotherm, and then how we can try to modify this process so that we can have the maximum adsorption. Okay, one example, we are trying to use a lot with the biopolymer because we are looking on the environmental sustainability side. So what we are trying to do actually, like we are using a lot biopolymer so that if it can go to the mainstream, still like it can be, degraded, and it can be, it can be, more friendly to us actually. So chitosan, most of you, it's like a biopolymer. And then once we apply the organoclove, where you have to change the tallograph right there. And if you see this, this picture is quite clear, and that's how the final material look like that. I'm not there, so that I cannot explain more closely, but it's still like with the slide, you can try to see it. You're like, this is the way we try to do. And in the graphical, well, because I thought like this is a webinar, so let me make it in such a way, like, you need to have some understanding actually, like how on the a close site and hybrid material is going to look like with the ketosyn material. And the hypothesis is like we have to make more improved surface area, more hydrophilic porosity and polycationic properties, because we are removing the chromium 6 out of this actually. And hexavalent chromium, we know like it's quite quite toxic, and there is a Hollywood movie based on that, and I don't know how many of you have watched that one, but that also reflect actually like how the toxicity happen in that river, and how it has to be taken out from the general public. But in that one, like there is so many parameters which we have to try to see, and that goes with the most of the adsorption process, how we have tried to do. And we have established like, it's a higher affinity of chromium with the increase in the temperature, and that's how like we have concluded. But we try to manage all the physical parameters, but to make more smarter the material, which is like the time, temperature, concentration. So I'm not putting, because I have been given half an hour. I don't know how much time is still left, but still I'm trying to, come off, to go about it. Yeah. So, but
You have 5 more minutes.
okay. So let me just try to go more fast so that you can see. So variety of material, if you see in this slide, like have been proposed, but our is the bottom one, the chitosan cloud nanocomposite, which is 357.14 more, the better way of adsorption in organic hybrid, where we took the another guargum, which is another biopolymer, and with sol gel derived silica. So we took the guargum, and then we have grafted it, which is with the polyacrylonitrile, and with the precursor material, which is TEOs, tetraethyl citrulline, and then we make the hybrid nanocomposite, and we try to remove the, and you will not believe actually how the material look like and what happens after that. So if you see the left corner nanocomposite, and the middle before adsorption, and then the after adsorption, and we have put like 200 ppm chromium solution right there. And when we applied with the nanocomposite, you can see we got the 0 ppm with the water, because again we have to go to the water quality check, where we can try to see it like how we can modify and maintain the quality, and that's how we can drink the water. In another, our research, what I try to focus it like the decontamination of water using hydrozols. So, and there, if you try to see, before adsorption was looking the blue color, and when we put the methylene blue, that the dyes right there, it swells, and after adsorption, you can try to see it like it's quite super natant. And obviously, like we also go to the more adjustment process, the water quality process, how we can try to maintain that actually like the good quality can come through. Okay. Then you have seen actually like how we have smartly like converted some nanomaterial or the smart material where we were trying to do. But in the other smart way, what we are also doing actually like in our group, actually, like we are taking the waste and then we are developing the smart materials. So to, wrap it out, this one. So this one, like if you have the black liquor, which is coming from pulp and paper mill industry, and then we try to extract that one, and obviously this is just like a waste material. And then what we try to do actually in that pulp and peel paper, we try to take out the black liquor, and black liquor is nothing, it's just like a carbon. And then obviously, like if you try to remember this previous slide, like we got some TUS, then with that TUS we mix it together with the pulp, and then we try to generate the silicon carbide materials right after that. So you can see like there is a number of processes involved in terms of mixing together, and then we have to go with the carbothermal reduction, and that's how it can be made actually. So let me try to conclude in that way, like, this smart material provides a platform to be explored with respect to the wastewater treatment. And obviously it needs a lot of awareness. It needs a lot of like prototype, because we are working very, very close to the industry and the municipal water people, where when some of the material what I have shown you even today, we try to apply there, and then we try to also provide a solution. If you like, this is the way we can try to purify the water. But obviously, like we need to see like how these smart composites or hybrid material, it can be very much target specific, or whether we can make a prototype. So obviously, like we are heading towards like making a good prototype right there, and obviously like this can be quite helpful. So I just say like, let us open our mind like a parachute, and that's how it can go. And I try to acknowledge I have a lot of peoples which is on board actually, and they're making a good contribution, and it will be quite helpful to that one. This is just my team, some Russian partners, some people from Canada. He's vice chancellor, but still he's very active, and we are participating via the IEEE or somewhere. And only few books I try to say, like if you are more interested, you can see the nanotechnology, environmental science, or the emerging and nanomaterial contaminant in wastewater, nanocomposite for pollution control. So these are some recent book I thought like, let me just display. If you're interested, you can also read through, and we can also look for more collaboration and working together, that kind of things. I thank you very much.
Dr. Mangai?
Dr. Mishra, can you hear me? Hello, ma'am.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, like it's a nice presentation from your side, and students have the participants have asked a few questions regarding your presentation.
Right.
One of the participants named Jonathan Bloor asked you uh, once you have absorbed your toxic metals to your biopolymer nanocomposites, what do you propose to do with the contaminated materials? Is asking what happened with the contaminated materials once we are filtering out the toxic metals using biopolymer nanocomposites.
Right. I think it's a very good question. I think I need to see that guy actually, who has asked this one, because that in other one, do you want to, say like you are generating the secondary pollutants. What we have two idea, what is proposed right there, what I have not covered right in my presentation. We try to put some magnotactic bacteria, and that bacteria change the toxic form of the metals to the non-toxic form. Secondly, what we try to do actually, like what we have also not covered here, we try to get some fly ash. And like if you see from the polymer, like the power company, they used to generate a lot of waste called fly ash, which is nothing, it's just like a cement type of material, which is mostly the inorganic components. So what we try to do, like we try to incorporate with that one, and then we try to make a brick. And that brick is a proposal of making the low-cost housing material. So that is the second one. But we also should not forget about the Napoleon Bonaparte. I don't know whether you heard the story, because he was killed by the arsenic poisoning, and that arsenic was on the walls actually. So at certain temperature it was coming together, and that's how it is leaches to the body. So I have a Polish collaborator, what I have also not displayed today, where we are also making some pedestrian bridge, but obviously that goes with the strength of material actually. So good question, and these are the solution we have it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And another person asked a question. His name is Deepika Chahan. What happened to the reusability of this nano composites? Can it be reused for 2, 3, 4, and so many cycles?
We have done like around 80 times, and it is all very effective, and the strength of material is still the same actually. So it's quite reusable. But after the reusability, we were also looking what we can do, because if it can go to the environment, it is another secondary pollutant you generate. So that's how we answer, like how we are trying to do that way.
Now, Madam will.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ajay, for a wonderful lecture, and the participants have enjoyed your lecture on environmental issues. So it's really nice listening to your presentation. So on behalf of VAT, once again, I thank you for accepting our invitation and delivering this interesting talk. Thank you, Dr. Ajay. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and you are more than welcome to count on me anytime you want, actually,
Yeah.
because
Thank you.
this is just like online, so we have to also squeeze for our time. So I
Yes,
thought to
yes.
share many things together with you, and thank you
Yeah,
for the opportunity.
definitely. We'll be in touch. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. To deliver a talk at our event. It's indeed a pleasure to welcome you.
Oh, it's my
So
pleasure
I think
too.
for want of time, we can directly start the session. So the session chair to introduce will be Dr. Preetham Bharadwaj. Dr. Preetham, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Good
Yeah.
evening.
Good evening. So Dr. Muthu, I think we can get started. So once Dr. Preetham introduces you, you can share your screen. Yeah, perfect.
Okay,
Yeah. Dr.
I'm
Preetham?
sharing the screen now if you want. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yes, ma'am. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm
Dr.
proceeding.
Dr. Raja is sharing the screen. You can introduce Dr.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I have.
Yeah.
A very good evening to all of you. I am going to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Muthu Pakirsamy. His invited talk is on nanomaterials for nanophotonics and plasmonics. Dr. Muthu Pakirsamy, a strong promoter of innovation in Canada, is working as a professor and Concordia Research Chair at Concordia University and the first Quebecer to become the Fellow of National Academy of Inventors, United States. As an expert in areas of micro nanotechnologies, he develops and studies nano-integrated microsystems for various applications covering from cancer diagnosis to green energy harvesting to telecommunications applications. He is the recipient of Member Royal Society of Canada College, Fellow of National Academy of Inventors, United States, Fellow of Indian National Academy of Engineering, Fellow of Canadian Academy of Engineering, and many more. As an author of around 450 articles published in journals and conference proceedings, 47 invited talks, and he has 27 inventions in the areas of micro and nano systems. Now, I am requested to Dr. Muthu, sir, to proceed.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. And I can just close my screen now. Yeah, and I think it's good evening to all. And we are on the different conference time now. So I go straight to my talk, and it's going to be on nanomaterials for nanophotonics and plasmonic applications. So it's with special thanks to my students and the researcher I work with, without which this is not possible, and also my funding agencies, without which the presentation wouldn't have been possible. So, so my motivation into this field is coming from the top, from the Nobel laureate, Philip Sharp, on the third revolution in life science to tackle the big problem, 5 big problems like brain and nervous system or cardiovascular system, cancer diagnosis, or taking from lab to clinics or education can happen only through convergence. Convergence means here we're talking about revolutionary collaborations among engineers, biologists, and physicists. So that's where I'm interested in. So I work in this area. I implement convergence through micro bridging, we call it, the bridging of biology and engineering, and through micro and nano systems. So this is my group. I can see I'm trying to work with the different biologists and engineers and various people to make this happen. So what is my fundamental motivation is that there exists a scaling synergy between biosystems and micro nano engineering. You can see that from the sizes we have, biological systems goes from nanometer to millimeter. Same thing happens in microsystems. And also whether we have production facilities, fabrication facilities, inspection, all we can cover from nanometer to millimeter. So that's essential, the scaling synergy that we already have to deal with biosystem. So how do I implement? Is implement through micro bridging. What is the micro bridging means here? I implement it through lab on a chip and micro nano integrations. The lab on a chip, as you all know, that it's in a platform where we can deal with various biological things as if in a whole lab, and which covers the dimensions from hundreds of nanometers to millimeters, while micro nano integrations can take it further from hundreds of nanometers even down to nanometer size. So I'm trying to implement these micro nano integrations into lab on a chip environment for our work. So what is microchip? Microchip here, what we do is we try to provide a cozy home for cells, for example, in which is a microfluidic chip. Essentially, we try to provide all the nutrients and whatever necessary for the cells to grow, culture. And so we just put the cells there, we trap them, culture them, diagnose, manipulate, and we do everything on the cells here. So we understand what's the environmental influence on the cells, and which is used for various applications. So next thing is what we do as evolution of micro nano integrations. When I say evolution, is we're going through nano synthesis of different material and integrating with micro platforms of different things for different applications. So we deal with here in my lab from various side morphology of nanoparticles, whether it's a nanorod or anisotropic different nanoparticles or nanostars that we recently work on, or simple nanospheres. Whatever be, whether a sphere or rods or particle, of course, they have different plasmonic properties, but when they are integrated on polymer platforms or any other platforms, or the nanocomposite or any other sensing platform, as you see, these nanoparticles could be immobilized with various agents to basically trap this biological entities, whether it's antigen or antibodies. Then we study the behavior, we diagnose this antigen-antibody interactions through various properties of these plasmonics or various other properties of these nanoparticles. And eventually also we can basically isolate these biological molecules from this. So we also did on in situ synthesis using gold, basically on carbon nanotubes to make this. So I'm going to explain this with one simple comparisons of how these nano integrated systems helped improve the sensitivity of detections and diagnosis here. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work with here and explain with growth hormones in milk. The growth hormones is recombinant woman somatotropin. It's basically polypeptide, which is larger in size. Typically, most of the countries do not allow growth hormones in milk. And if at all they allow, the limit is 100 nanogram per ml. The thing is, we do not have handheld devices to basically detect this. So we started working on finding different platforms to find how to detect these growth hormones in milk. So one of the things we found out was LSPR, which is localized surface plasmonic resonance-based microfluidic systems, was very, very effective for this case. So we are going to start with simple. What is this gold micro nano integrated systems are? When you take a simple optical waveguide, as you see here, and if we say we integrate them with nanoparticle, essentially it influences the whole optical field around this waveguide. So these interactions between the nanoparticles and the waveguide could be seen in a different way, whether it's a evanescence field, or absorptions, or various fluorescence coupling into the waveguides, various ways that we are going to study this. And we study this, the size, effect of different sizes of this nanoparticles on these optical waveguides. It's suitable for different diagnosis of different biomolecules. So two types of micro nano integrations we talk about, mainly nanocomposites. One is in situ synthesis based nanocomposites, other one is ex situ synthesis based nanocomposites. In the in situ synthesis based nanocomposites, in which the nanoparticles are synthesized using in the microfluidics, could be just inside the microfluidics or sometimes even to make nanocomposites inside the microfluidic channel on the walls of the microfluidics. But ex situ synthesis in which the nanoparticles are produced outside and they're allowed to immobilize onto the microfluidic substrate afterwards. This is ex situ synthesis that's useful for us. In the ex situ micro nano integration aspect, as we see here, we use angled convective assembly approach, where we produce nanoparticles and we keep the nanoparticles in colloidal solutions, and we immobilize on the substrate by angled convective assembly, where we have self-assembled monolayer or few layers of nanoparticles could be immobilized onto the substrate, and then that's being used for further diagnosis. So in the case of ex situ synthesis, you see, we produce nanoparticles of different sizes, and those nanoparticles are available, then we mobilize into this microfluidic channels, and we are basically sensing platforms or sensing substrates, different materials. So you can see here the nanoparticles, when they are made outside and they immobilize into this polymer matrix, with ex situ synthesis, ex situ synthesized nanocomposite, or the precursor of this nanoparticle can be made to react with this polymer matrix, and then we can make in situ synthesis of gold nanoparticle. So we get composite from ex situ and in situ type of approaches we have. Other interesting thing, we can also do that as we can thermally drive these nanoparticles into different depths of the substrate. So we have here, we can temperature and time could be a good parameter to control the size as well as the distributions of these nanoparticles in the polymer nanocomposite. So you can see, so we can see that when we are going to prove it on a PDMS as a polydimethyl siloxane. We all know that is very useful microfluidics, and that's a material that we are using is because the curing agent of polymer acts like a reducing agent for the synthesis of gold nanoparticles too, for reduces the precursor of gold nanoparticles. So you can see here the ex situ integration of gold nanostructures. So you can see whatever you see in the right-hand side is basically the gold nanoparticles, and they've been subjected to thermal annealing, so through which you can change the morphology of the nanoparticles. So one by which you can change the shape and size and distributions and the density of this over the whatever substrate you want. Why we have to do it? This is a very important step because it's very important to tune this nanomorphology of the structure with respect to size of the biomolecules one is interested to diagnose. That is very important because the nanobio interactions between the nanoparticles and the morphology of the nanoparticle is very, very critical in understanding and deciding the sensitivity of the sensing that you're looking at. So one of the good examples, as I told you, the growth hormones. We developed these bioprotocols. Essentially, the growth hormones, the BSTs like antigens, and we use antibodies for that. And then we use antigen-antibody interactions to detect it. So that's a typical way that we did it. But in this one, what you see is the plasmonic shift, basically the localized surface plasmonic shift of these nanoparticles due to these antigen-antibody interactions. So here you can see the gold nano islands on a glass substrate, and then you cover it with a PDMS microfluidic chip, and then you go for diagnosis of this. This is what it is. And we got this is called ex situ nanosynthesis, and we got around 5 nanogram per milliliter of sensitivity in this case. So next is we thought about using the NEAT. NEAT is a nano-enhanced evanescence-based technique. So here we're talking about optical waveguide. In this case, it's silicon optical waveguide. So it is a core of the oxide. And this is covered with the nano-integrated structures. So basically, you influence the evanescence between the nanostructures as well as this optical waveguide. So that's what we are trying to find out. And you can see the beautiful devices in which there's a waveguide encoded with nanoparticles to effectively use the NEAT evanescence-based techniques. And by doing this evanescence-based technique, we also could go up to 20 nanogram per ml. So when we do the single waveguide, like the one you see at the bottom, we have a single waveguide, or we have a cascade waveguide coupler. We have multiple waveguides. So here you can see there's a multiple waveguides, it's a splitter and combiner. And at this middle, we have the microfluidic channel through which we have basically the milk where you want to detect the growth hormones of the sample preparation is going through. Then you find this sensitivity to this evanescence-based techniques, and we got 25 nanogram per ml. You can see those multiple waveguides in this case, and when the light is passing through, and this is the system that was used for detecting this growth hormones. You can see how there's basically these growth hormones are immobilized on top of this cascade waveguide coupler using these gold nano islands. Okay, so we did this. So when the difference is when we did with the single waveguide, and we got the sensitivity in the range of 240 nanogram per ml, while the cascade waveguide coupler, we got over 25 nanogram per ml. So almost 10 times increase in the sensitivity when you go from single waveguide to cascade waveguide coupler. So the most of the time when we talk about evolutions of micro nano integrations, we do this because we base our system based on localized surface plasmonic resonance. So in this case, we're talking about combining microfluidics and nanoparticles for plasmonic applications. So you can see here, we can do the in situ synthesis of nanoparticles, and then you can make composites of, I can make the composites of nanoparticles, as you see here, and the PDM substrate in this case, but you can also do other material which basically reacts with this gold precursor to create nanoparticles. So you can see synthesize, in situ synthesize PDM as gold composite in this case. You can do on a substrate, or you can do it on a microfluidic base. It's whatever, depending upon one's interest. One can do this in situ PDM as composite. You can see some of the beautiful, the gold nanostructures on the PDM substrate in this case. And we can tune the temperature and time to tune the size and distributions of these nanoparticles, the PDM as nano composite. So this is the surface morphology. I think use atomic microscope images. You can see the effective temperatures and the effective time, and then also concentration. So various parameters we have to change the morphology, distributions, and density of these nanoparticles on this. And also we can do ethanol or water. One can change the different PDMS composite configurations again. So this is all various tools. We have various parameters based on the sensitivity one require and based on the microparticles, or sorry, bioparticles that you want to detect it. So here, you can see this is a microfluidic channels in which you have a PDM as a microfluidic channel. You can see the red color microfluidic channel because that's where we have in situ synthesized gold nanoparticle. You can see the gold nanoparticle in the SEM picture here. And also you can see the surface plasmonic response of this gold nanoparticles on the microfluidic channels. So these microfluidic channel decorated with this gold nanoparticles are ideal platform for various diagnostic tools, whether it's a chemical sensing or a biological sensing, something else one want to do, this platform is ready. So we use this for even for various applications, and including the growth hormone reductions that we used this platform. So what we do in a in situ synthesis is, I want to give a very beautiful example here in microfluidic. Basically, you can see two channels. One channel we pass a gold precursor, other one channel we pass sodium citrate, which is the reducing agent. As these precursor reducing agent interact, typically they interact because of microfluidic nature, and the flows are generally laminar and Poisson flow. So they don't mix always, they mix only at the middle. As a result, you get nanoparticles produced at the middle. So you get the streamlines of nanoparticles that in situ synthesize you get beautifully here. Of course, if you want to make it more nanoparticles, make it uniform, then we need to come up with some sort of 3D mixing. So we have 3D mixture. I'm not going to go into it. We have made a 3D mixture so we can have a very uniform mixture of this precursor and reducing agent inside this microfluidic chip to get a better uniform and distributed size of these nanoparticles. You can also see the in situ PDMS nanocomposite here. You can see the red color microfluidic channels in which basically the precursor was allowed to react with the curing agent of the PDMS. So we get this PDMS nanocomposite with the microfluidic channel, that means ideal for sensing platform. And this platform used for sensing growth hormones. And you can see that we can go up to the deduction limit of 4 nanogram per ml. So the LSPR with the goal we gave to 4 nanogram per ml inside the microfluidic channels, which is something very, very interesting for us. And that's what it is. So it's also these nanosynthesized particles, in situ synthesized particles also have a very good uniformity in size compared to what you make it on outside in a typical tubes. So you can see the inside of the microfluidic channels. So you follow the same bioprotocols, and after you do this, after you immobilize and build nanoparticles in situ synthesis, then you do all the bioprotocols, make the antigen antibody interactions, and you just basically what you do is monitor the plasmonic shift of localized surface plasma resonance, and then you can find out, depending upon the concentration of this growth hormone, the plasmonic shift will be different. So we can go up to the deduction limit of 3.7 nanogram per ml in this case, which is it's outstanding so far. So if you look at the comparisons of all this, the various optical system, fluorescence, evanescence, LSPR, all this gave different kind of sensitivity and complexity and simplicities and a lot. So we find LSPR seems to be more sensitive out of all of this. So in comparisons, if you look at it, LSPR seems to be highly sensitive compared to this evanescence as well as absorption-based or fluorescence-based. And also we found out that even much more sensitive is possible when you go in a mechanical way, okay? You can see what we do is we miniaturize the lab-on-a-chip concept. I'm not going to the lab-on-a-chip because that is not the focus of the presentations. So, but the whole system of spectrum photometer in this case has been miniaturized into a tiny chip in which now we can basically detect the growth hormones by using these handheld devices. So the other kind of methods also be used where the gold was, again, gold nanoparticles were used. That's what I'm presenting this. This is the micromechanical interaction. So we all know that, okay? When you look at the sensitivity and basically the limit of detection, sensitivity as well as the time it takes to detect for any sensing, you can get this curve. We all know this. And in this case, there's a suspended microfluidic resonator. That means we are talking about cantilevers here. These are micro cantilevers in this area, and we have SMR surface, basically suspended microfluidic resonators here. Okay, so that seems to be more sensitive as well as less time consuming. So we are trying to now see what's the effect of these gold nanoparticles on these cantilevers as well as the suspended microfluidic resonator. So if you look at this, the evolution of this cantilever-based systems, we're going from simple cantilever and this cantilever inside the fluid, and then you coat the cantilever with the different biological materials, or you integrate microfluidic inside the cantilever. Now we also gone basically 3-dimensional microfluidic configurations inside the cantilever, which is much more sensitive than SMR in this case. And what we try to do is when we make the SMR surface polymer suspended here microfluidic resonator here, we made it out of basically PDMS in this case, because PDMS has a very low stiffness, so which is we can have larger deflections in this case. So it's also easy to little bit implement. So we can also change the neutral axis height in this case, so we can have better sensitivity. So we try to fabricate this microfluidic resonators. As you see inside, this is the microfluidic channels inside this micro cantilever platforms, and we try to make this in situ synthesized PDMS composite inside it, which again used for detection of various biological entities, whether the simple antigen antibody or growth hormones. It's been used for many applications afterwards here. So That's what is happening as you see. So very beautifully, you can see that here, these microfluidic channels in the red color means they are decorated with gold nanoparticles. And now the sample is applied to this microfluidic resonator, then you create antigen-antibody interactions, and the interaction creates the stress, which basically bends the cantilever, which changes the stiffness, and you can use it to measure it in terms of whether it's a deflection or in terms of natural frequencies or whatever the way one is interested, one can go further on this. So by doing this method, you can see that we've gone to the detection limit of 2 nanograms per milliliter. That much we can go. It's a much, much powerful method that we found out, and with the gold nano integration. So the micro nano integration is really useful in that way to improve the sensitivity. So another kind of nano interactions with nanoparticles we are also looking at is directly with the cells interactions. It's nanobio interaction studies in which how these nanoparticles go into the different kind of cells and how they interact and what kind of mechanism it has. And we have started doing a lot of studies on this. And there's a lot of relation to India in this because India is known for a lot of Ayurvedic and Siddha medicines, and it's known a lot of ancient Indians use some sort of Swarna Pashma, because Thanga Pashpam or gold ashes, they call, with various ailments for centuries. So we are trying to understand what is interaction between these different nanoparticles, including the Swarna Pashma or Thanga Pashpam, with gold nanoparticles. So that's one of the study we did it here. So it's, you can see here, when we use these different gold nanoparticles on different cells, whether it's the HeLa cells or various cancer cells, lung cancer, or various type of cancer cells that we use, we try to understand how these nanoparticles enter into the cells and where do they accumulate and what are the type of interaction they do, whether they change the motility or they change the stiffness of the cells or mobility of the cells. So a lot of work is happening in this area now. And there seems to be a strong interaction between the nanoparticles and the cellular behavior. And we also found out some of the cells even enter into the nucleus, which is something very, very interesting. And now these nanoparticles could be immobilized with various other kind of chemicals, and then can be used as a target, but as a carrier to target different part of this cellular cells in this case. So we are doing many work with both nanospheres as well as nanostars, and how do they behave, and there seems to be a very clear preference of the cells over nanospheres and nanostars, and there seems to affect different properties and different parts of this, different organelles of the cells. A lot of work is being done. I do not have any conclusive results right now, but there seems to be a lot of promising results that's coming on this direction. And you can see some of the beautiful entry of these nanoparticles into the different cancer cells, and they can even enter as you say, into the nucleus, which is something very interesting. Of course, that happened during this cell division process. Our area is, as you know, these nanoparticles have a surface plasmonic properties. So we are trying to do is what happened to this localized plasmonic properties of this nanoparticle when they enter into the cell, we call intracellular plasmonics. So our interest is more to study the interaction between these nanoparticles and the biological entities and through intracellular plasmonics, and we do a lot of hyperspectral microscopy for that, which comes in very handy to understand this spectral behavior as well as the visual characterization of this nanoparticle into the cells. As you see, when these nanoparticles enter different parts of these organelles of the cells, their plasmonic properties do vary, and I'm sure that can give a lot of information about what's happening to the cell in terms of drug diagnostics or drug development and various other diagnostic tools too. And one of the other recent work has been done in the nanobio interactions is basically the detections and isolation of microcellular vesicles or exosomes. So these microcellular vesicles or exosomes are bio nanoparticles, similar to COVID-19 virus. They are basically double lipid layer inside. They have various biomaterials, whether some RNAs, some DNA, some proteins are inside, but they carry lots of information about the states of cells, and they seems to be the main carrier for intercellular communications. And there is a strong evidence, and you all know that the mere concentration of these microcellular vesicles can represent basically can ask us to diagnose the various stages of the cancer, whether the cancer is from no cancer to full cancer cells. The difference we found out is the concentration of these exosomes. They can go from around 50 times higher in fully cancer patients to 50 times lower in a no cancer patient. So we are trying here to develop some sort of nano-integrated platform to detect this concentration of exosomes or microcellular vesicles, which can be used to diagnose by ultra or early diagnosis of cancer. And we did a good amount of work on this. And there are various methods that already exist, but now a lot of work is being done on a microfluidic lab on a chip space because they are less time consuming, portable, and we all know that it's much more sturdy and easy to handle, cheaper, and many more things. So here what we try to do is we are trying to combine LSPR, localized surface plasmonic resonance, and lab on a chip concepts for the isolations as well as detection of this. Exosomes for that. So we have mostly started using the breast cancer MCF7 exosomes from 6-7 cells. Okay? And for our, we used for binding of these exosomes, we generally antigen antibody binding concepts being used, and we used VL96 polypeptide in that case for capturing these exosomes. Okay? So this is commercially available, people can buy and use for that. So same idea. Once you have the gold nanoparticle platform, basically immobilize these nanoparticles with the different chemicals and linkers, and so that you can immobilize further, and then you can immobilize basically VN96, which is the polypeptide, which is going to attract this exosomes outside. So that's where it is, and we are going to monitor the plasmonic shift as every stages of these the bioprotocols, and that's what we finally found out. So again, we developed various platforms in this case, like earlier I told you, we are comparing different platforms to gold integrated platforms for these extracellular vesicle detections. And you can see some of the glass substrate with the PDMS microfluidic chip on that. And these gold nanoislands are used for LSPR-based sensing of these exosomes. And you can see some of these nanoparticles, as well as there is also exosomes on top of that. This is a seam of exosomes as well as nanoparticles on the substrate. And you can see how the plasmonic shift of these nanoparticles happens with the different stages of these bioprotocols. And final shift is what important. Here we saw the delta lambda, which is the plasmonic shift in order of 7 nanometer we got, which seems to be high for us. So once we try to calibrate this plasmonic shift in terms of the concentrations, and we can also get various stages of cancer in this case. So we did some physical modeling of this too. So we can see some of these morphology tuning of gold nanoparticles. So these are the gold nanoparticles of different sizes. You can see, and which is based on the thermal treatment, temperature, and time. So one can tune the sizes based on, we need a larger nano island because these exosomes are larger in size, hundreds of nanometers. Okay? So we cannot detect this larger biomolecules with the smaller nanoparticles. So we need to have a large nano island. That's why we created this new technique of making nano island that suits the size of this exosome. That's a key here. Okay? The morphology tuning in relation to the biological molecules is very important for this kind of a study. And you can see that SEM image used for the analysis, and this is nano island, and this is the final results that we got. One you can see very well here that the lambda, the plasmonic shift by nano integration with respect to the concentration of the microvesicles gradually increasing, which covering the full range of no cancer to full cancer stages. So that's something that we can have a very portable, disposable, cheap diagnostic tool for early diagnosis of cancer through integrations with the nanoparticles using surface plasmonic properties. So in my lab, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to miniaturize bigger machines into tinier lab-on-a-chip devices. Not only I do that, I also integrate this micro platforms with the nanoparticle to enhance the performance further by at least 10 orders of 10 times, 1 order of magnitude that we try to improve. So that's the whole idea. Eventually, we are trying to bring hospital to home so that we can put miniaturized hospital on a chip so that people can carry it with them instead of going to the hospital. This is our future dream that we are working on our lab. And thank you so much for your presentations. Thank you. I can answer any questions if you have.
Thank you, sir. So some questions from participants.
Yeah.
When you incorporate gold nanoparticles in PDMS, did you check the conductivity? Does it become conductive?
We do some work is happening as I use more in nanoelectronics and nanoelectrodes using this, but it is not that easy to do because the maximum concentration of nanoparticle you can get, it's not that directly you can make it conductive. We have to do other techniques which we are working on. Yeah, it is possible, but it's not easy.
So one more question. What about reusability of nanocomposites? Reusability of nanocomposites.
We can reuse. We can basically, if we remove those bio layers that you put on, all those bio protocols, you can remove all the layers on the top. We can do that, and we do reuse the chips. It is possible. It's available in our papers. You can also find out, but it is possible to reuse.
So one more question. Will the detection limit changes with respect to the flow rate of microfluids?
The flow rate of microfluids, we don't have to worry because these biological specimens were allowed to be immobilized onto these nanoparticles. Okay, that means we need to give them some residence time so that the biomolecules are bound to this particle, which are basically sort of a chemical bonding. So we need to give some time for that. So basically we allow it to flow and then leave it for some time to incubate inside so that there is a good residence time for it, so that you can have a good immobilization of these bioparticles inside the chips. So it does not done during the flow. You have to stop the flow and do the machines.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Now I request to Nirmala ma'am to vote of.
So it was a nice presentation, Doctor. So once again, on behalf of VAT, I thank you once again for accepting an invitation to deliver a talk. Thank you, Dr. Muthu.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much.
It's my
Thank
pleasure.
you. And
pleasure.
wish you good luck with your conference.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, take
Thank
care.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
bye.